Welcome to another episode of Lions Avenue. We are in prime NFL draft mode. We've seen the Senior Bowl as well as the East Shrine Bowl, as well as some heated practices, some very productive practices come and go. Our Detroit Lions, actually, yeah, before we get into the draft stuff, we're gonna start out with the news of the day, of course. So, left tackle Taylor Decker returns for the 2026 season, for which will be what his 12th season, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Yeah, year
11th
12 for
season.
Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I got mixed feelings about it. I agree that if you look at what we have currently in our locker room, as far as the tackle position, he's the best we have. Um, when it comes to the free agent market, high level tackles just don't go on the market that often. It just doesn't happen unless you're a guy that's maybe on a decline a little bit age wise. You can use Trent Williams for example. Even though I don't think Trent Williams is a declining player, but in theory he's declining because he's getting older, and now they're starting to bargain with you about your money. When you're the elite of the elites, which I still think Trent Williams is one of the elites. They don't bargain with you with your money; they pay you. So, like I'm saying, that everybody that's looking for a high level replacement for Taylor Decker via free agency, that's not going to happen. Um, Now you can argue, and I'll be one to argue with people, the people that say they can't find a young replacement in the draft. I
Yeah.
think when you look back at Gray Zabel from last year,
Oh yeah.
and you
Well.
look back at Tyler Booker, even though Tyler Booker plays guard for the Dallas Cowboys, but they took him 12th overall.
Hmm.
Gray Zabel played a very vital role on a Super Bowl winning team. Like
Yeah. Gray's was
everywhere he's
amazing.
been, he's won.
Yep.
He won in high school. He won his was it which division was it in at North Dakota State? Well, he won
Um.
there also. I think he
Yeah. I
won
don't
two.
know
He
the
won
name.
two or three there. Yeah,
Yeah.
and his rookie year in the league, he wins. And on top of that, he was a really damn good player that you and I both talked about.
Yeah.
Now they ultimately ended up drafting a guard in Tate Ratledge who struggled in his first season. But
Yeah.
what are your initial thoughts on Taylor Decker returning for 2026, man?
Um. First of all, man. Happy 2026 season. You know what I'm saying? Actually, the new league year will start on March 1st. So for that, we officially have 2025 in the rearview mirror. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like from all the negative talk, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of that's in the rearview mirror. It's in the past, but now I really do think number one, as we talked in the pre-show, I think that this is a move that I'm not that thrilled about it, but I can understand why they did it. You know what I mean? I think Taylor Decker is a shell of himself, and it's not to bash Taylor Decker. You know what I'm saying? You know me, he's been one of my guys, man. I just think he has been loyal to the organization, and I do think, um, for whatever it's worth, okay, I do think Taylor Decker playing left tackle isn't the worst thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? Even though now if it's a situation where people are already saying, oh, well, he's injury prone. Well, he's pretty sturdy. He was battling some injuries. He even said as much that the injuries made him really contemplate retirement. You know what I'm saying? Man, when your body is just not where you think it should be, or where you're trying to make it to be one way and it's not, man, it's real frustrating. It's mental game as well. So I really do think Taylor Decker coming back, like I said, is not the worst thing in the world, but right now this team needs some familiarity in offensive line group, man. I really do believe that. I think that this team is further away than people think. I think Taylor Decker solidifies it to an extent because the familiarity with golf, the leadership, you know what I'm saying, the experience, like you said, now how's he gonna hold up? I'm not worried, like all of this. This is what I'm saying. I don't think, well, he all of a sudden is gonna be an Olay on that side where he's just giving up sack after sack. I don't think that's the case at all. You know what I'm saying? I do think Taylor Decker still could play football, man. Just the problem is, it can he play 12 games. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just being an injury plagued season, which give him benefit of the doubt, man. He has been a guy that we counted on, but I think last year, I think he was hurt. I really do. I think that those guys was banged up, and I really do think Taylor Decker, even though we know any football, especially offensive line help, well, north of 30 years old, I mean, you kind of making your own grave, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that it's like we know it's not long term. I just think that this is almost like his last hurrah. I mean, everybody knows that this is it for Taylor Decker. You know what I mean? And I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? Because I really do think we have to get the other. We got to see if Miles Frazier can play, man. If he's gonna start and challenge for a spot, we got to see if Mahogany is gonna get the spot. You know what I'm saying? We got to see if Tate Ratledge makes a leap from to year two. So I do think, not to be too long winded on this, but what I do think that Taylor Decker is a guy. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. You know what I'm saying? I just think that he's better than having a guy that golf, and it's all going back to our quarterback, man. Number 16's got to be comfortable, and I think that that's they would rather take a chance on Taylor Decker for one more season, and then instead of bringing somebody else in that he's not familiar with. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, if one cog is not right in that offensive line, it's curtains, man. We seen time and time again last year. Missed assignments, blown reads on blitzes, or bad exchange from center to quarterback. Even though that has nothing to do with Taylor Decker, but I think him and Sewell kind of babysitted last year. They really did, man. They kind of had to play babysit, you know what I'm saying, with the young guys. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. That's all. But in 2026, that's it for Taylor Decker. You know what I mean? And I think Dan Campbell even kind of said that. Remember, Dan today even said, man, even if he comes back, which he is coming back now, it's not going to stop this team from getting hit the next left tackle, or moving Sewell over and getting another right tackle. So I think the big question is too. I think that and I'll let you take it away. I think that Miles Frazier is a guy. I think he's getting lost in the shuffle, man. And I think that he's almost like a de facto draft pick this year. And I really do think I'd like to see Miles get some time. You know what I'm saying? And maybe in training camp, win one of those guard spots. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll let you take it away on that. But
I
Decker's
think,
back, man.
yeah, I think more than anything with Miles has to be healthy.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly around Halloween, or
Yeah.
maybe the first week of November, in a
Yeah.
presser, Dan Campbell was asked about Miles Frazier, and he seemed kind of annoyed.
Yeah. I
We
remember
got
it.
to
Yeah.
we got to get Miles here. First things first, Miles has to be here. And that's always been kind of his short take with him. And that
Mhm.
doesn't mean he doesn't love the kid or whatever, but
Yeah.
man, when you're a head coach in Dan Campbell's situation, you've won. You've
Yeah.
had some success. I'm
Yeah.
trying to win right now. I don't have time to
That
babysit,
the
saying, these
whole
kids. And
right,
that's
man.
why I've always been against this notion that you can draft and develop a quarterback. How often does that happen?
It's rare. It's rare. It's
The
really
the
rare.
elite quarterbacks were elite from day one,
Yeah.
or maybe
That's
day
right.
two, being year two or whatever. Like this whole thing about, listen, Josh Allen was supposed to be a developmental quarterback. Josh played year one. Um, Then, to a way lesser extent, Anthony Richardson was supposed to be a
Yeah.
developmental quarterback, and they threw him out there day one when they had no business throwing him out there day one.
Yeah.
And you saw what happened to him. Now, could Anthony Richardson have turned out different in Indianapolis? 'Cause I don't want to say the kid's career is over with, because I don't think it's over with at all at 24 years old.
No.
But, and then with the amount of physical abilities that he has, he should get other opportunities. We've seen way lesser quarterbacks to him, physically talented quarterbacks to him,
Yeah.
who turned the ball over tremendously, who got backup quarterback job after backup quarterback job around the league. So
Yeah. I mean,
it's I even though we went off to the quarterback position, but it goes back to what you were saying in regards to just wanted to make sure that you don't have too many babies in the room.
Hmm.
because all
Yeah.
right, so Mahogany's heading into year 3.
Yeah.
This is Tate, Miles year 2.
Yeah.
We expect big leaps from them, right?
Yeah.
Because these are two all SEC players. Like
Yeah, man. And they not
they
like
they
they're
like they just
two
forgot how to
scrubs.
play. They had a rough
Right.
first year.
That's
All
right.
offensive linemen don't have great offensive seasons as rookies, but I get not wanting to throw a rookie center out there too in the middle of all that,
Yeah.
or
Yep.
not wanting to throw a rookie left tackle out. I get it.
Yep. That's smart.
But
Yeah.
the thing with these tackles are the thing with these offensive linemen in general, they like pitchers, man. Like pitchers be really, really great for like 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and then
Hmm.
boom, arm dead. Next thing you know, they just giving up 2, 3 home runs a game.
Hmm.
And I don't think in theory he would turn into a turnstile next season,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I don't
I
think it's
think
that far fetched for somebody who struggles to practice. And I think he openly said lately that if I feel like I can't wake up and get out of bed every morning to do it, then I won't do it. But listen, man, this is also Taylor Decker talking last week of February.
that's right.
So
That's what I'm
we got a
saying.
lot of
Yeah.
time. There's a lot of
Got a lot of
time
time.
going on. Listen,
And what I want to say is, like, we gotta put last year in the review mirror now. Okay, it's over. The new league year starting. Okay, like you said, I'm emotional attached. Like you said, I'm pissed how it ended. What up, E? I'm pissed on how everything ended. You know what I'm saying? But it's time to let that go, man. I really do believe this is what I believe. And this would be nice if this happened in this situation for Taylor Decker and the Lions. Okay, you got Decker coming back, which okay, we both said okay. Who's playing right guard? Who's playing left guard? I think that's the situation that this team has to figure it out. And I think that people and their pie in the sky, like this team just gonna go out there and make it anyway and win 12, 13 games. I think that that's the wrong approach to it. I think that that's where you set yourself up to be disappointed because, like you said, in key spots on this team, okay, there's questions. You know what I mean? It's questions. Okay, now we got an aging left tackle coming back for his last ride, right? He like the Undertaker. He coming back for one last WrestleMania, right? He coming back one last time, right? So we don't know who playing left guard. That's an issue. Who's playing center? Who's playing right guard? And he obviously we got all pro Penny Sewell. So those three spots is kind of messing up, putting a monkey wrench in our whole development process. Now, free agency is getting ready to start and it's going to be very interesting. We'll know right away what direction this team is going to go. You know what I'm saying? The first couple days of free agency, I'm hearing what's the center for the Carolina Panthers? I heard they reached out to Mays. I don't know his first name. Um,
K
center for the
Mays.
Carol. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate May. Yep, for Carolina. You know what I mean? Which I'm good with that too. You know, even if you go cheaper and say Connor McGovern because you need to spread some more money around other places, I'm cool with Connor McGovern. It's almost like as long as, like you said, just don't we not having a bunch of babies in the room like we did last year. And I think that started from week one against the Packers, man. It just derailed the season, man. You could just tell that they was out of sorts.
Well,
And I give Taylor credit. I'm sorry, I mean cut you
yeah.
out. I'll let you
No,
take it
you
away.
good.
I give Taylor credit because at least he's letting them know now. You know what I'm saying? Like Frank Ragnow kind of didn't let them know. Remember? I mean, it was sort of like everybody took for granted Taylor Decker. Frank Ragnow was coming back. And like you said, what if Taylor Decker wakes up in August before training camp and say, you know what? I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? I can't do it. You know what I mean? My knee, I can't even get out of bed. I can't even bend my knees. You know that type of thing.
Well, I think
So
also just being a husband and a father
yeah,
in general. During that, 'cause this Matthew Stafford talked about it a few times. And I'm
yeah,
pretty sure tons of athletes have. Some guys like it, some guys don't. I like it. End of the summer starts to wind down. You start
yeah,
seeing the back to school sale commercials on TV.
yeah,
You guys,
yep,
you take the kids, take your daughter shopping, your son shopping, and
yeah, Good point.
You
That's a
spend a
really good
lot of
point.
years of your life missing out on that stuff. You missed
That's
out
right.
on it in college. If you was a guy that had, kids in college, you
Yeah.
missed out on it for what, 12 years of your career, so to speak. And then on top of that, man, I think these offensive linemen nowadays, they're not trying to play 15, 16, 17 years, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
once they
And
all retire, they all lose weight. Like, look how small Joe Thomas got.
mhm.
Russell Okung, I think, is like I think he's 205 or 210, something like that
Yeah,
now.
even John Jansen, you know what I'm saying? Here locally,
Yeah.
John Jansen, you know what I'm saying?
It's
Guys
a rough
that's been,
position.
it's
Like,
rough, it's
it's
tough.
a very
Yep.
rough position, man. That
Yep.
and defensive line, those are the only two positions, and they go coincide with each other where you get touched every single play. You got
Yeah.
somebody hitting on you every single play. And you're right. This man could wake up in May. He could wake up at the end of the draft and say, you know what?
Hmm.
I'm not feeling it. And he has
Yeah.
every right to,
Yeah. And I'm
but
glad that Campbell did go as far as to say that even if he coming back, remember they didn't say that last year. You know what I mean? With
right.
Ragdown, they were just like, oh yeah, we're gonna hit the ground running. Ratliff may play center, Glasgow's gonna play. You know what I mean? It was sort of like we was kind of acting
Musical
like
cheers. We'll be
yeah,
okay.
right, right. Now I love Campbell already. He already said that even though he coming back, we still gonna
Yeah.
address it. So I like that. Um, as we get into the combine, man, this combine season, Walt, I think that um, I love it because I do think this year. I think this year Brad Holmes is forced to make some moves, man, in this draft. And what I'm saying is stop messing around with the guys that's projects. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I'm just I we know Brad Holmes can draft. We know that he's a guy that can evaluate talent. We know that, but the magic hasn't been there, man. The last 2 years, for whatever reason, he's fell in love with players that were reaches, man. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody in the entire Lions fan base would say why would you take Isaac Tesla? But in hindsight, I mean, he gave up a lot on his gut, right? Like what I'm saying is like the one thing I do like about Brad Holmes is he will make a move if it's for if he feels it in his gut. I really do think that he doesn't have any problem taking a guy that may not that we think may not be a first round pick. You know what I'm saying? So I think that opens the door for both sides of the ball could be drafted. You know what I'm saying? What if he gets? I want Brad Holmes to get a third round pick somewhere in this draft, man, because I do think there's talent there. I think we need another linebacker. I think Jack Campbell needs another guy, just that's adequate. I know, and I like Anzalone, what he's contributed to this team. You know what I'm saying? I'm not throwing him to the curb because I do think Alex Anzalone was part of this renaissance of this team, man. You know what I'm saying? Of making the Lions actually, a Super Bowl contending team. But I think that ship might have sailed with Anzalone. You know what I'm saying? His rumors, he could go to the Jets, and play for Aaron Glenn. You know what I mean? What I'm hearing. So I really do believe that Brad Holmes is going to
Well,
be
the Bears
forced.
need a linebacker too.
Yeah, yep. Brad's got if familiar with Ben Johnson, you know what I
Yep.
mean. That could be a situation to watch too. But it's some guys, man, in this draft. Just picking. I don't have my list in front of me in my hand, but I know the stars alone, like Arvell Reese is a guy. Bain from Miami is a guy that we're not going to get those guys, right? So I got a wish list. We got a wish list, and I'm just telling you what, man. From the looks of it, I mean, it's just you could, after you talk about Ruben Bain and maybe David Bailey, the Lions will have their pick at basically any guy that's going to fit their system. And I don't think any pick's going to be the wrong pick in this draft. It's just like you said, I think it's just about talent recognition. I really like Dave. We didn't get a chance to talk about the Senior Bowl that much. Hey, Derek Moore whipped ass out there. I like Derek Moore a lot. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if Brad Holmes likes him like first round talent, but he's a guy that's got a skill set that the Lions don't have. And I think that right now, just from the names that's on this list, Messador is another guy that's coming up from Miami that played along with Ruben Bain Jr. I would love to get an athletic guy like him. I just think we need so we need a better push, man. We need like I love Zion Young. That's the guy that I got him circled on my list, man, from Mizzou, from Missouri. I really think Zion Young is an athletic freak, man. And I think that would fix you. You don't even have to talk about the other side of Aiden Hutchinson anymore if you draft that kid, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think he's a plug and play guy right away. I think David Bailey's another guy that's a baller. You brought him up to me. I really like him. Jay Sean Barham's interesting guy. I think he could be had later on in the draft. I'm hearing Ray Sean Benny. And then too, that's another one. Walt, I don't know, you take it away and tell me what you think. Like, DJ Reader's not going to be back. You know what I mean? Do you think that
True, true.
Talik Williams is Talik Williams going to take the next step, or is he a guy that like a rotational guy, and we have to yet draft another? We have to get our next nose. You know what I'm saying? Our next nose tackle to fill, because I don't know if Talik Williams is a every down. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. For me, if you ask me, I think he's leaning towards the rotational player guy. You know what I mean? I don't think that he's I'm basing off what I saw last year when he had ample opportunity to kind of put a stranglehold on that spot while McNeil was gone. McNeil's coming off injury. I really do think that they're going to draft, a stopgap guy in the middle. You know what I mean? Which one of these guys they're going to take?
Well, you make great points, and I agree with each and every last one of them.
Yeah,
But I want to start with the two Michigan kids first. Not even necessarily Rayshawn Benny yet, but what do you think of Barham, man? Because like, listen, we've seen a lot of Jay Sean Barham here at Michigan, bro.
yeah.
Um,
I,
fiery
I,
football player, a little temperamental.
yeah.
I don't think, and this, I listen, I'm all for the young man getting his money, getting on in the NFL. I'm not sure if the production is worth the risk with him. Not saying anything off the field, but
Yeah,
he's just been too much of a ticking time bomb, like on
yeah,
the field in games. And
yeah.
you can question whether or not he's outright cost them games before.
Uh huh.
But he's gotten himself tossed out of some games. He's done some questionable things. There's some things that happened in some games that he got called for that was unfair to him. And you can
Yeah,
tell it was more so of a reputation call towards him.
yeah.
But I mean, listen, Jay Sean got some ability now. I will say this: at 6'3",
Hmm.
243, he's
Yeah,
around that typical height frame that you want. He's only 22 years old.
yeah.
Um,
Beast, man.
very
He is
physical
beast.
player, very physical
Yes.
player, but a little inconsistent.
Yeah. I don't think that that's a guy. I don't think that that's a guy that they would choose. You know what I'm saying? Not just, I agree with everything you said. I mean, for me, you know what I'm saying? I think we need, I think that that's one of the things that this team is. Who else is athletic on this team, man? I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's super athletic, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, I think we got a bunch of dinosaurs out there, man. I do think we got guys that can, we need some guys that can tip some passes at the line of
Yeah.
scrimmage and get their hands up and force a guy to force a double team. We don't have that, man. And I think, like you said, maybe Barham is a guy. I don't think that Brad Holmes, they really don't take chances on players like that. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that would be that would be like the kind of guy you would want, man. You know what I mean, for this team, because I think that we don't need a whole roster full of guys, man. That's the still the thing. I do like the position that we're in at to an extent. I wish the offensive line was in better shape. Then I man, then it would be everything would be unlocked for this team. But I do think that uh Jay Sean Barham is a pro. I like Derek Moore more. You know what I'm saying? I think they bring a little bit something different, but like you said, they both hard
Well,
nosed as
let's
hell.
talk about Derek Moore then,
Yeah,
brother.
yeah, yeah. I love Derek Moore. You know what I mean? I think I liked him more when I seen the individual stuff with him. Um, and Derek Moore is a physical. He kind of remind me of Rashawn Gary a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a little bit stronger than Gary coming out of Michigan. You know what I'm saying? I like this guy, man. I would absolutely, if we took this kid at 17 or whatever we're pick, I can't remember, 15, 16, 17. I wouldn't have a problem with it. It would be a little high. People would say it would be a reach. But remember, Brad Holmes, he draft for need, man. I mean, like a specific need he's looking for. You know what I'm saying? Now, what that need is, that remains to be seen. But if he sees what we see, I mean, I can understand why you would want to pull a trigger on Derek Moore. You know what I mean? I think the individual matchups was phenomenal, man. You know what I mean? He just really showed me another gear. Like we know he can play. You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah,
seen Derek Moore. I mean, that wasn't a question. But man, the individual stuff to me. So I would really, I hope he's gonna participate at the combine. I want to see, how he runs.
yep. You know
You
he
know what I'm
is.
saying? Right. I want to see him in the split drills, and and agility. And man, he can really make himself some money in this combine. I think he's gonna be a guy that can really boost his stock, man, with a good combine. So
Definitely, definitely. I think he's we said the same thing similar to Josiah Stewart
yeah,
from Michigan a year ago. I think he's the overall better player than Josiah Stewart was though.
yeah,
Honestly. You're talking about a guy at 6'3", 260. And we also say, listen, the NFL for a while they were getting away from those tweener body types, the guys that were 6'3", 265, some of them edge
yeah,
rushers, 6'4", 270. They
yeah,
couldn't really find a spot for him. Is he a three tech? No, he's too undersized to play three tech. Is he a consistent guy that can play five tech or line up over the offensive tackle? No,
yeah,
he's arms are too short because most guys who are 6'3", 270, looking at Derek, listen, even if you look at Derek Moore's picture right here, you can see those arms aren't the longest.
yeah,
Most guys that are 6'3", 260, 6'3", 280 don't have long arms like that.
yeah,
But Derek Moore, the player, is tremendous, bro. Now, we knocked a lot of those Michigan edge rushers and Michigan linebackers over the past few years because they played with a lot of big time defensive linemen across that line. But Derek Moore's been productive, bro. And
yeah,
he's played a ton of football at Michigan the last 3 years. He played 15 games in 2023, 12 games in 2024, 12
uh-huh,
games in 2025. And you're talking about a guy who had 440 snaps this season,
yeah,
480 in 2024, 410 in 2023. And then even outside of the tackles, because he's a consistent, hard-nosed tackler, you're talking about a guy who always takes the right angles,
yeah,
plays downhill consistently, very solid short area quickness. Like this is a guy who's a really good football player. He just doesn't really fit the aesthetics of it.
yeah,
He doesn't look like Shamar Stewart. He's not 6'5", 270,
yeah,
34-inch long arms and all that stuff. But you're
yeah,
talking about the sack production off the edge. He had 11 sacks this season, 3 in 2024, 5 in 2023. And the hurries. You're talking about 21 this year, 27 last year, and 17 in 2023. So this is a guy who, regardless of what you took away from him, whether it
uh-huh,
was Mason Graham or it was Kenneth
yeah,
Grant, for that matter, who was also there last year, regardless of who you took away from him in front of him, his protection the last 3 years, he was still a playmaker
yeah,
every single year, man. And like I said, I mean, I thought that he was a guy who, if he tests well, that's the
uh-huh,
whole thing with him. I want to see for me how explosive is Derek Moore. I want to
yeah,
see his broad jump. That's if he does everything too. But he comes across to me as a guy that will do everything at the combine over the next few days.
yeah,
So, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what his broad jump turns out to be, what his 40 time turns out to be, his vert. Mainly because I want to see how explosive of a player he is off the edge at 6'3", 260 pounds. So,
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, I do think now. Let me ask you a question. Well, since we going, I mean, do you think there is, talent in this draft? Like, do you think that it's some guys to be had for the Lions in this draft? Meaning, like me, like I said, if I had to go out on a limb and pick a guy, I'm just gonna say Zion Young. That's the guy I think. Now, who's a guy that stands out to you, like best case scenario, in this draft process? Who would you like? Just defensively, just the guys we talking about tonight. Like who would be the guy you would pick?
At 17 or somebody maybe at 50 who could possibly
Mm,
I
Yeah,
also
yeah,
that's something we need to talk about, bro. Because I don't I'm against picking at 17 and then not picking again till 50.
yeah. That's bad. Yep, I
You
agree.
know, I don't like it. I don't like it. I
Yep,
don't think they're gonna do it either. I believe either 17 or 50 is gonna be traded. I'm cool with staying at 17, honestly,
yeah,
if we're gonna move from 50. If we can move from 50 up to like 37,
yeah,
um, not necessarily the back end of the first round, but somewhere in that 35 to 40 range,
yeah.
I'm
Second
cool.
round. Yeah.
Yeah, because listen, man, by the time pick 50 roll around, we won't have shit, honestly, to
Yeah.
pick from. Man, this is a team that needs to get production out of
Yeah.
their
That's
first
right.
two draft picks, I believe, this year. We
That's right.
didn't get any out of our first two draft picks in the 2024 class. We know what that was all about.
Yeah.
Terrion Arnold struggled all season. Ennis Rakestraw didn't play. You look at this past season, Tyleek Williams. I'm not as down on Tyleek Williams as a lot of other people are. I
Mm,
understand exactly what he is. He didn't get enough snaps last season either. You notice once Aleem came back, and granted, you can also make the argument that DJ Reader didn't play his best last season. He's starting to break down. He's getting older, so that should have been Tyleek Williams'
yeah.
opportunity to seize the moment and take the job from the old man. Now, whether or not he did it or he got the opportunity to do it, because
Mm,
that's another argument.
yeah.
You know, we don't know if maybe they was holding him back a little bit from taking that job away from DJ Reader. But
That's right. That's true.
I'm with
Yeah.
you. I mean, I think before we get into the defensive line position, the tackle position specifically, I'm with you. I
Yeah.
think defensive tackle is a position of need in the
Yeah.
fourth round, maybe.
Y-
All depending on who's there.
Yeah. Yeah. And Harold Perkins is a guy that I'm super high on. I think he a little frail. He remind me of what's the guy from Georgia last year? Philly took him. Smeel Mondon. I
Yeah,
remember he was a little frail like that, 6'1", 220, 222. You know what I'm saying? Harold Perkins is a freak of nature, man. I would love to see him, in the Lions uniform. I think, man, it would bode our team well, give us instant toughness, to play Chicago and Green Bay. And we have to, go get another nice young linebacker to go with Jack Campbell, man. Would be real nice, especially if Anzalone's not going to be back. Um, Sonny Styles is another guy we mentioned. I let you maybe elaborate on Perkins a little bit more. You know, you brought him to my attention. You kind of mentioned him last year, but I really like Harold Perkins, man. I think that he could be a guy, like you said, maybe in the 30s. You may want to trade. And Brad Holmes, we've seen that if he's eyeing a guy, he don't have a problem with trading back in and moving up and mortgaging next year's picks, what I mean, to get, because like really right now, I think we're kind of out of draft capital to kind of move around unless it's going to be for next year's picks, you know what I'm saying, right now. So we're kind of stuck. And it's a very good point what you said, man, because if we take somebody at 17, whatever position, a guy like Harold Perkins might not be around at 50. You know what I'm saying? So you may want to be able to make a move, or a David Bailey from Texas A&M is another guy. Me and you are both high on this guy, and we did a show on Anthony Hill from Texas. Another guy, big strong guy. Trey Moore from Texas is another guy played alongside Anthony Hill, who I like. Penn State constantly is a linebacker factory. I like Tony Rojas, man. I think Tony Rojas maybe
yeah.
I don't know what his injury status is, but 6'2", 230 for Penn State is another guy. But I think Harold Perkins, if I had to circle one guy, just like I'm picking Zion Young, I like Harold Perkins. I think out of the linebacking crew, if I can't get, obviously the premium guys, like we mentioned, Arvell Reese and Bain and, those
Yeah.
guys. So I think this might be the guy, you know, that you might want to look into. And another guy that I think he'll be had later in on draft is Mikael Kamara, man, from Indiana. I really like him. 6'1", 265, big, strong kid. Another one that seems like he gets a push. He played with a lot of elite talent on that D line national championship Indiana team. So I think that he did put himself into the draft discussion. Maybe Kamara's a maybe a guy you can get later on, mid round guy that you can get later on in the draft. Obviously, you're not gonna draft him in the first maybe 3 rounds, but he's another guy that has some talent. So I want athleticism. I want some explosion, some speed. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like we're in quicksand a lot on defense, man. It's like we're a step slow. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson is what we have. Uh, Aiden Hutchinson is a guy that's our most athletic guy that we have on this team. You know what I'm saying? And he's a guy, but he's one guy. You know what I mean? He's the only guy we have. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would really like to see us get one of these young stud, linemen that can do some damage and big strong guy. Derek Moore will work wonders with this team. Harold Perkins will work wonders. Zion. What about LT Overton? A lot of people think he's undersized. I like Overton too from Alabama, man. I got a whole wish list over here, man. I like all these guys. I wish, what I'm saying, that we could get a couple of these guys and groom them. You know what I'm saying, and get them in here and get them in Allen Park. But the
Yeah.
way I think we're stuck. I think that right now because we can't. You made a good point before we came on. You said that we can't draft a whole draft with one pick, right? You can't fix the whole team with number 17, right? That's not going to happen. But you can get the right guy at 17. You know what I'm saying? I think getting the right guy will work wonders with this team. Remember, we don't need like a whole roster full of guys. I've always said that. If we can get, what's up, Corey? If we could get, let's just be realistic and say we get 3 starters out of this draft, right? I think that this team, the quality starters, sort of in the mold of like Malcolm Rodriguez and uh, we found lightning in a bottle with Kirby Joseph. You know what I mean? Just something like that, Walt. I'm not saying that they have to be like Lawrence Taylor or nothing like that, but just guys that's serviceable, guys that play every week. You know what I mean? Young guns. They don't have no lingering injuries or anything like that. We know football is a game of injuries, but at least start their career off fresh, man. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's what this team needs an upgrade at. And then we talk about this, and then I think that Kelvin Shepard needs another boost of talent on this defense. You know what I'm saying? I think making lemonade out of what we had the last 2 years in the secondary has just been atrocious, man. You know what I
Well,
mean? Just the injuries, man.
I'm glad you brought Shep up too,
Yeah,
because I'm pretty sure that he's tied in pretty well with LSU, so he knows everything he needs to know about Harold Perkins. Um,
yeah,
Harold's interesting, man. Now he's coming off the ACL injury.
yeah,
As you said, very light player. Not
yeah.
sure if he's an every down consistent linebacker, but the thing is you don't have to necessarily be a jack of all trades anymore, I don't think.
Mhm.
Now, his athleticism says he should be a jack of all trades, but
Yeah,
he's not the most physical tackler. He's a willing tackler, but he's not the
yeah,
most physical tackler. Um, he's overzealous a little bit in coverage. He takes a lot of false steps.
yeah,
He's better going north and south. I've noticed.
yeah.
He's a very explosive player, very fast, great first step off the edge. And if you look at what he was, he's similar to another guy at another position we're gonna probably talk about tonight. Hopefully we get to tonight. But Peter Woods of Clemson, but
Yeah,
and who plays defensive tackle for Clemson. But
yeah.
um,
That's right.
but sorry, but went blank for a second. But Harold Perkins had a great freshman year.
Hmm.
Great freshman year. Probably would have been a first round pick if he'd have been allowed to come out. If freshmen were allowed to come out. Um,
Yeah,
Something changed in LSU within that system over the last 2 years, though. I've noticed with him. He they for whatever reason, man, I forgot. I think he had about 10 sacks as a freshman.
yeah,
and then they just stopped letting him rush the quarterback, and then they just made him pretty much a Mike,
Hmm.
which didn't
Yeah.
make any sense. Now
Uh,
you're wondering why his play trailed off, and he's got all these blown tackles, and that's not what he is. So what
yeah.
I another thing I have with Harold Perkins is where does he go, and does the team that gets him, do they understand what they have?
He
Because I
remind me
think
of,
he's one of those players. He's he's there to benefit you if you
yeah,
allow yourself to allow him to benefit you.
yeah,
And I just question with this team, this organization, they're so locked in mentally to versatility, jack of all trades, but master of none.
yeah,
Guys who can provide versatility. When somebody goes down, can you step in and do this and do that? That's all fine and dandy, but sometimes you need those guys, those elite traits.
yeah,
He may not be a great tackler, but he may turn out to be a great sack guy within your defense,
yeah,
playing next to Jack Campbell and being protected by Barnes. And more than likely, you're going to get another linebacker also in free agency. That's if you lose Malcolm Rodriguez and you lose um, Alexander Zaloni.
yeah,
I mean, more than likely, there's going to be two linebackers added to this room this offseason anyway, whether it's both in the draft or one in the draft and one in free agency. But I like Harold Perkins. I just think that there's so many red flags with him, not even necessarily off the field, because I haven't heard a single thing off the field about Harold Perkins.
yeah,
But if you're just talking about the health
yeah,
with him
yeah,
and
man,
the uncertainty of, okay, can he be an every down player for us?
yeah,
Is he just a specialist? And if we're going to take him as just a specialist, is he that elite as a specialist for us to take him before the third round? Because I've
hmm.
seen some teams have
Good
taken him
question.
off the boards, period.
Yeah, good question. That's a really good question right there. I wonder how he ranks, like you said, in the pecking order of our draft board. I just want to just comment and say I think he's got. And don't laugh. I'm not comparing him to Micah at all. He got Micah Parsons' ability, man. You know what I mean? He's got Michael Parsons. He does. He really does. He kind of looks like him a little bit. The same build, like the way he, his mannerisms and stuff out there on the field. Put his hands in the dirt. Well, you can stand. I'm sorry, not hands in the dirt. Straight up, just go and get the guy. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's what the Lions are missing, man. Because a lot of times we've seen in games where Jack gets there and he's like the only guy. It's like the other, or we get the ball constantly thrown over our heads. And I think, and the guy gets 15 yards, move the chains. I think we need a guy that can stop the bleeding. Look at the picture him on our defense wall trying to, hunt down DeAndre Swift on the screen pass from Caleb, or Josh Jacob. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
no, to be
Trying
real,
to,
I understand completely. Not to cut you off, but we
no, you good.
we
Yeah.
need athleticism. You mentioned earlier in the show, like make no mistakes about it. We don't have the most athletic linebacking core at all. Like Jack is solid athletically for his size and his height and what you need him to do as the
Yeah.
Mike. But outside of that, we don't have too many athletes. Like Malcolm Rodriguez is a try hard guy.
Yeah.
Barnes has never been a big time athlete. He's more of a try hard guy, lunch pail guy.
Yeah.
So we don't have a smaller athletic freak who can do a multitude of things. A Harold Perkins, a Arvell Reese,
Yeah.
1000%. That is even a listen. We can transition over to your boy,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
even him,
Anthony
like
Hill.
Anthony
Yep.
Hill Jr.
Yeah. Anthony
You know,
Hill is a menace, dude. Total menace. I mean, the just the possibilities, man. Like you said, because I think that it's a lot of guys like this profile. You know what I'm saying? I really do. Like Cassius Howell is another guy. You mentioned him. Anthony Hill. We love Anthony Hill. You know what I'm saying? We did a film study on Hill already, to show how much we liked him. You know what I'm saying? But I do think it's a handful of these guys, Walt, and I think that we really, really do have to get one of these guys. I mean, we've seen the last two drafts. Remember when we basically was just like, what the heck are we gonna do? When our pick comes up, And it's like, oh yeah, well, okay, we do need, a lineman. We took Tate Ratledge, but it was underwhelming, even though Tate Ratledge is a good player and people already want to say Tate Ratledge is a bust. Well, I don't think so. But what I'm saying is, I think now we need to get some bang for our buck, man. You know what I'm saying? We really do need to hit a home run, especially if, let's just say, we only take two draft. We only got what, five draft picks anyway in the whole draft this year. As of right now, unless we trade some, we get move around. So you want to get more bang for your buck. You know what I'm saying? And this is the cheapest way. We know this organization looks at the money a lot. You know what I'm saying? As far as like getting the bargain deals, and Brad Holmes has been, paying guys a little bit before the contract gets up to kind of give himself a hometown discount. And this is the cheapest way. You look at Seattle, what they did. You know what I'm saying? They signed a couple free agents like Leonard Williams and guys on that defense, but they did draft a couple guys too. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be able to have an Anthony Hill in your, a Harold Perkins, man, would do wonders on this defense. You know what I'm saying? I just think it just give you a new one player can give this team more swag than they ever had. You know what I'm saying? And just because if you get a guy that's a menace like that and be able to tackle at a high clip, to be able to support the run and tackle a tackling machine to go with Jack Campbell, I think that's kind of what we missing, man. You know what I mean? And it's like we've been doing it for 2 years now, when we've been just getting by with the other guys, and it's like, no, man, can we just get a high level athletic freak in here, man, to kind of go with everybody else. And that's why I do think he is looking for a special kind of skill set. You know what I mean? And I do think that this draft, like you say, it's a lot of specialists out there. You know what I mean? And the NFL is changing too. I think the NFL is changing, like you said, to the undersized, fast, to be able to, blow up screen passes, to be able to come around the edge a little bit quicker, that you can send them on blitzes on third down, stuff like that, or any down for that matter. But yeah, I really do like the guys we highlighted, tonight, and it's going to be. I think the combine process. You got me into this about maybe 5, 6 years ago. I think this might be our sixth or seventh draft covering it this year. And it's like every year, it's like I always say, it may not be, we're so excited to get about a guy throwing in shorts and running drills but I think it is something to be said for a guy that does the drills, shows his athleticism, shows his strength, his jumping ability. I really do think that the combine matters, man. It does. So for me, I'm gonna just sit back and watch, man. I think the quarterback position is not that rich to me this year. You know what I mean? I think defense is
Let's
where
talk.
you.
Okay, can we talk about that real quick? Even though it's
Yeah,
not a quarterback show, and we not well, hey, we might
yeah,
we
yeah.
might draft one. What do you think? Let me ask you this, because I think it's. Are you a person that's hands down a Fernando Mendoza guy, or
Yeah.
do you believe
Oh
it's
yeah.
somebody else? And if you do believe it's Fernando Mendoza number one overall,
Yeah.
who do you have number two?
Good question. I really do like Garrett Nussmeyer. If I had to pick out of those guys, and then I would say I would maybe back in October I was saying Ty Simpson over Nussmeyer, but I would rather have Nussmeyer over Ty Simpson in my organization. And then I'm not a Carson Beck guy at all. He don't do nothing for me. Kay Klubnik, it seemed like he played at Clemson for 8 years. It seemed like. That's another guy. I mean, he's a guy. I think he's a career backup. I don't think that he's like a Mendoza's a starter. I think Nussmeyer, if given the opportunity in the right system, I think he can play ball, man. And that's a guy that you may want to look at later on. Like you said, what if a situation comes where they like one of these quarterbacks? You know what I mean? And they might say we're going to take a fourth round flyer on one of these guys. Not Mendoza, because Mendoza's going to be drafted high, but Carson Beck or Klubnik or it's another kid from Buffalo. I can't think of the top of my head, or I'm gonna find it while we talking here. But I really do think that that's another position where you might want to look at for real, for real. You know what I mean? I'm cool with Kyle Allen coming back. You know, he's a backup, yeah, but I want to
I ain't
draft a
cool with
you
that, man.
no, but hear me out. You know, I'm not cool with it as far as moving forward. I want to get a young quarterback in this system. Period. And with this organization, let's draft and groom a young quarterback, man. So,
Well,
if God forbid, if something happens to golf, right? Then we can have somebody that we're not. Can we go to Jordan Love 2 year route? Can we go to Aaron Rodgers 1 year sit route? You know what I'm saying? When Jared Goff's ready to hang it up or move
well,
on, we got our
you think
guy.
it's possible that can happen? Like,
Uh,
like we've got Jared Goff right now.
yeah,
That would be a shocker to me. If like
yeah,
let's say at 17 they took Ty Simpson, or like if they felt that strongly
uh huh,
about
yeah,
a quarterback at 17,
yeah,
I would have to be like, okay, you know what? Maybe they know something I don't know.
yeah. I like
But I
who two guys I do. I'm sorry, I mean cut you off
no, you
on
good.
Draft Buzz number 13 prospect Luke Altmaier from Illinois. I like him 6'1", 205. Altmaier, super smart guy. He's worked with Pat Bryant the last couple years.
Yeah.
He's had some talent at receiver. I like Luke Altmaier. He's in this draft. That's a guy we'll look at. It's another guy from Georgia Tech, and I think that they're coming to look at him as Haynes King. He's another guy, 6'3", 215 pounds from Georgia Tech. I like Haynes King too. He kind of a dual threat guy. He can run. Put his head down and run. Just two guys right there. Those are the two guys I was thinking about. I said Buffalo, but yeah, Haynes King and Luke Altmaier from Illinois. So uh, it's almost like to me, I do think, like I said, number one, I think before we get out of here is to not think too high. And to what I'm saying, I don't want to sound like we're not a good team because we are, but we got holes, man. And I think free agency is going to pretty much tell the story on what we do in the draft when it comes to D line and linebacker. They absolutely need a linebacker, but Walt, the $1 million question is when they're going to take him. You know what I'm saying? When are they, like you made a really good point. I didn't even think of that. Like, because people don't realize once we pick at 17, like you said, we don't have a pick until the next day. You know what I'm saying? At 50, the next, what I'm saying, a Saturday. So unless he's got some movement up his sleeves that he's trying to eye, even right now, he's probably thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? Which how he can do it if they fall in love with a guy. I think it's easier than people think to move up, especially to get from like you said 50 to 37 or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe he gives somebody, say, hey, I'll give you, a couple picks for next year. I'll give you a third
What do
next
we
year.
have? A fourth? We got what, two fourths this year?
Yeah, two fourths. And I'm gonna pull it up here. Yep, I think we got two fourths, a fifth, six and a seventh. I think and I think the third round pick is the only thing we don't have this year. Hold on here, minus draft picks. But I really do like the talent. I think the defense, to me, I think last year was the offensive line draft to me. Like you said, and Gray Zabel was a guy we were all over Gray Zabel. Like that, this is the guy that was he was him, Will Campbell. What's the other Salamia from went to Miami. He was another guy from Arizona that we
Yeah.
really like. So those are kind of the top guy. Yeah, well, I got it right here. So we got first round pick, second round pick, fourth round pick, fifth round pick, and then we got two 6 rounds, one from Cleveland, one from Jacksonville, and a seventh round from Cleveland. So technically, we got 7 draft picks in this draft. I was wrong. I said 5, but
That ain't too much ammunition to move up.
no, no, that's not a way to
So
build.
we
That's
might
not a
be
way.
stuck
We might be stuck, right?
at
You're
17
gonna,
and 50.
oh yeah, because like you said, I'm trying to get creative. I'm like, well, maybe you can say, hey, I'll give you a 2027 third to move up 13 spots. You know what I'm saying? If you whoever is picking or whatever, hopefully like the Cleveland's in that spot, and they took Schlesinger last year from UCLA. That's usually the spot, like you said, for linebackers or cornerbacks in that 30 to 38 range. You know what I'm saying? You get that second round jolt. We seen it like with Lewis Seen. Remember Lewis Seen was a guy from Georgia. Remember the Vikings took him high in the second round. So that's usually the area that teams go out and try to get their next dominant, defensive player, defensive back or linebacker or corner. So
You
now let me
believe the
ask.
Roy Lopez re-signing is something that could prevent them
Yeah,
from drafting a D tackle?
could be. Yeah, because you can't fill. I didn't even think of Roy Lopez. That's a good pickup by you. Yeah, yeah. I think that matters because remember we know how they cherish their own guys, right? So yeah, they might say Talik Williams, Roy Lopez is we're good, like at that spot. You know what I'm saying? And maybe sign the guy for a year, on that defensive line that you can get. So yeah, I didn't even think of that. So maybe a nose tackle could be out of the question. You might want to just go linebacker route. I want Harold Perkins. If I can get Harold Perkins and Zion Young, I'm good. You won't hear a peep out of me. You know what I mean? To
Yeah,
get one
so
of them two.
not at 17.
Uh-huh.
Well, who
Yeah.
knows? Listen, Harold Perkins, even though, yeah, well,
No.
Harold Perkins, it's funny because Harold Perkins' name was on the invitee list for the combine, of course, but
Yeah.
he wasn't even on PFS list, which was strange. He was on PFS list, but he's not now, so I don't know what the hell happened there. But
Yeah.
I'm cool with Harold Perkins. I mean, listen, if Harold Perkins happens to fall to the fourth, because I'm not sure I would take him at 50. If we were forced to take Harold Perkins at 50, that means a lot of talent at some real serious positions that we needed the help at came off the board.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think like this is a team that listen, I get everybody has an idea. Me and you consistently talk about not mentally pigeonholing yourself in a situation where I have to go with one particular position in the first round because it's the first round, it's the first pick, so I must do this.
Must.
Like,
There we go.
no,
Yeah.
like there's not an offensive tackle doesn't solve all the damn issues this team has.
Right. That's
An
right.
edge rusher doesn't solve all the issues this team has. A lockdown corner doesn't. But all of those players serve a purpose.
That's
And I
right.
think that
Yeah.
we can all agree on the fact that I would rather have an all pro at corner over a C plus left tackle.
There we go. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And
And
that's the situation you find
that's the
yourself in
situation.
when you just draft a position. You so hung up on offensive tackle, or you so hung up on corner, or you so hung up on edge rusher that you so thirsty for it that you can't even see that you may get an average ass player at that position.
Yeah. That's right.
Think about how many people wanted Shamar Stewart last year.
Mhm.
And that's my whole thing. But all right, man. Draft is underway now, man.
Yeah.
Combine kicked off this week.
Yeah.
Offensive linemen come in tomorrow, I believe. Yeah, Wednesday. Offensive linemen come
Yeah. I
in
think all
tomorrow.
the events start what Thursday, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Quarterbacks, I think, for the weekend. But yeah, I,
Yep.
I really do think, before we get out of here, Walt, I really do believe that um I do think we're gonna see some new uh sorry. Yeah, yeah. I knew somebody's gonna bring that up. Yeah, I know. I know he's got. I'm want to take a chance on a guy that's good. That's a good point, Brent. By the way, and then two for that reason, I don't think that Brad Holmes would take him. You know what I'm saying? That's just me talking. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I agree. You know what I mean? I don't think that that's the kind of guy. And when we said that too about Jay Sean Barham, I think that those two guys aren't Brad Holmes guys. They play it real safe. You know what I'm saying on stuff like that. So I mean, I would, but hey, that's probably why I ain't a GM because I probably have our roster in shambles. You know what I'm saying? I would, because I want the talent. You know what I'm saying? I want a guy that's going to kill people out there, man. I don't want a guy that what I'm saying. He help you up when you. You know what I'm saying? He knock you down, he help you up, give you a helping hand. No, man. No, I don't want we got enough nice guys on this defense. You know what I'm saying? Jack Campbell got a little mean streak to him. Aiden Hutchinson, and besides them two, we don't. Other than Brian Branch, he was like the spark plug in his team, man. You know what I'm saying? So, I just think that we need a jolt on that side of the ball, man. Even much as we know we need offensive line help, but what I am hearing is early is the offensive line. They are talking to offensive linemen. You know what I mean? So I'm glad. I think where there's smoke, there's fire, and I do think they're going to sign offensive linemen. So therefore, they may not even draft a lineman. You know what I mean? Maybe they may late, maybe another Kobe Sorstall type pick. You know what I mean? Later on in the draft, but if you get a Mays or you get a Connor McGovern or pick a guy, not Tyler Linderbaum. I don't think you're going to get him, but a little bit on the cheaper side.
Well,
So
no, I agree. I think if you go free agency for the center position or free agency for another swing tackle, because you remember you're losing. Well, Giovanni Manu ain't playing next year, which is crazy still. But
yeah,
you lost Skipper also.
yeah, Skip,
So
yeah,
yeah, so if you bring in a vet like Cade Mays or somebody else or Connor McGovern, that gives you some wiggle room. So now you got a vet and McGovern in there. You still got two young studs in Miles Frazier and Tate Rattlers coming back. Maybe they'll be good.
yeah,
Their second year. You still
yeah.
got what's the name? Who never could
Uh,
play for us. Um from
Manu.
Boston College.
Oh yeah, mahogany. I said
Yeah,
Manu. I
yeah.
can't believe that's blasphemy. I can't believe them words came out of my mouth, and he not even
Exactly.
a real person, Giovanni Manu, man. So yeah, I
No,
feel
I
you.
think if
It,
if you take care of the offensive line in free agency, that gives you a lot of wiggle room in the draft to go do whatever you want to do defensively. You could go corner. Just
Mhm.
being honest about it. But I agree, they need a jolt. They need a difference maker. They need somebody else in that front seven that stands out. They don't
Yeah,
really have that right now.
yeah. That's the difference between them being, to be able to compete with Seattle. Now we can say Seattle, hell, they won the Super Bowl, but Chicago. I think Chicago's D line kind of nasty a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I just think that we need to elevate ourselves. I think Green Bay's got a better defensive line. I just think we need to upgrade that spot. You know what I'm saying? Our offense is good. Our offense is fine, but I'm talking about the skill player position. I think what we're really putting us in a bind is this: the offensive line's not set. You know what I'm saying? And in this part of the draft, and it's a good point by Donkey Kong. That was a good pick, good question about Dave Montgomery. I was going to bring him up too before we left out. And I did see some early reports that David Montgomery could get traded. I think Drew Petzing, it was on record saying that he liked Dave Montgomery and he kind of wanted to work with him. You know what I'm saying? And he had some plans for him in his offense. Um, and just what Brent said, if I can get a fourth round for David Montgomery, be real tempting in this draft. You know what I'm saying? If you can parlay that for one of
I
these
don't know,
young
bro.
stud linebackers, you know.
I don't know. A fourth round for a running back of his age and his lack of explosiveness, that's kind of optimistic. We, I, I think more so of a fifth, honestly.
Uh-huh.
Because I mean, you got to think about it. He's not really a number one running back anymore.
Yeah,
Um, he's
and
he's outside of his prime. He's
yeah,
got a lot of carries, a lot of wear and tear on him going back to Iowa State. So I don't. I think a fourth round pick might be a little optimistic. Listen, if we can get a fourth for him, though, yeah,
yeah.
I would.
Let's
Because
do it.
me and you
Yeah,
talked about drafting Travion Henderson last year. So we've been
yeah,
talking about getting another running back to pair with Gibbs for the next 4 or 5 years for a minute now.
yeah. Yeah, you might have to do that, man. It might. It's gonna. Is we at that point where you got to do? Because remember, Craig Reynolds is not on the roster anymore, and
Right.
Sione Baki, he's a special teams player. So, yeah, unless you go and you sign somebody. I seen like a Rico Dowdell, maybe, if Carolina don't sign a long term deal. Um, yeah, yeah, yep. Yep. Mike
Hey,
Williams, Mike Washington. Yep.
yeah,
Good call, Brent. Yep, with him. And
6'2",
it,
220 pounds,
yeah,
and he might run. He might run 4.39.
yeah,
He can run
Mike.
too.
Yeah,
I like
and
Mike
that's kind of,
Washington.
yep, and that's kind of what we need, man. I mean, think about it. I mean, my thing is, if you Gibbs is gonna get compensated for, and then I told you this last year before the season started that if Gibbs had a big season. Gibbs might hold out, bro. He might say, "I'm not playing till I get a contract." You know what I'm saying? It may come to that. You know what I'm saying? Not in a bad way, but I think he wants to get his money, rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? Him, Bijan at the top of the class. You know, the running back. But I do agree with you. I think we need another pop in that uh running back room. And it's interesting that we find ourselves talking about a running back, you know what I'm saying, and quarterbacks in this draft. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, and it was a good statement by you at the beginning when you were saying that organizations look at drafts way different from fans and content creators. Like you know what I'm saying? They look at the draft totally different. You know what I'm saying? Obviously we're not in their head, but what they're thinking. But what I'm saying is sometimes, like you said, what if they went outside the box and took Ty Simpson? I didn't even think about that. And people would be, what in the world, what in the hell would you take Ty Simpson, right? But in their mind, like you said, they might say, hey, we need our quarterback in the room, our next guy after Jared Goff. But everybody would be irate if they did that, you know what I mean, and totally bypassing everything we just talked about tonight. Um, but yeah, so to really get a guy like Mike Washington, I'm glad they brought the guy up because good call, Brett. Good Donkey Kong, good question as well. I do think that you wanna just solidify every position on your team. Like Seattle was a perfect example. They ran 2, 3 guys deep. You know what I'm saying, at every position, and I think that you can run a wave of guys at a time on defense. If Jack Campbell doesn't have to get spent and play, even though Jack can do it. Jack can play. He's an every down linebacker. But what I'm saying is, you got to get Jack some help on the weak side, man. You get Jack help on the weak side, then our defense becomes formidable with one player. Like Devin Witherspoon, I think totally transformed that Seattle secondary and gave them a level of confidence and swag that they didn't have. We both like Devin Witherspoon coming out of Illinois, and I think that that's kind of what the Lions need, man. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. I think that one guy could make an impact to where Terry and Arnold's better. I'm not even bringing up Ennis Rakestraw. He don't even play for the Lions, in my opinion. But it's just, you know what I'm saying? I'm tired of saying his name. But
No, trust me. We gonna get into
yeah,
the corners too. It's a
yeah,
lot of, well, I'm not gonna say it's a very deep corner class, but there's some interesting corners out there, man. Interesting
yeah,
corners out there.
yeah. Yeah, and then and before we go, just what you said. I mean, what if we? Let me ask you one question, and I heard this on 97.1. Driving home from work today. Would you just real quick? Would you draft a safety in this
Yeah,
draft? Would you
yeah.
draft one? Okay.
But the thing is this too. I don't think the chances are high that they do, simply because they like Dan Jackson a lot,
Yeah, from
and
Georgia. Yeah,
they raved about Dan Jackson a lot out of
yeah,
Georgia.
yeah,
And he was a Bulldog, so, and
yeah. He got hurt.
he a white DB that played at Georgia, so I'm pretty sure he's athletic enough. For people who may feel like he's not, Dan Jackson is plenty
Mhm,
athletic enough. But Dan is also he's going to get an opportunity to play early. You
mhm.
know,
Yeah,
we don't know when Branch is going to be back. Um, Everybody's been watching on the news last few weeks. We know what's going on as far as Kirby Joseph. Well, we think
yeah.
we know what's going on in regards to
Scary,
Kirby Joseph and his health. So
scary.
Dan Jackson is going to get every opportunity. But I still think that it would only be smart to draft one. And if you don't draft a pure safety, you at least draft a hybrid, at least get you
Yeah.
a coverage linebacker,
Love
somebody.
AJ Halsey, Brent cooking tonight. I love AJ. I think we mentioned him on the last show that we did. AJ Halsey from LSU.
Yeah.
Love him, man. That's a guy I would absolutely draft. AJ Halsey. Yes. Sorry, Wall. I mean, cut you off.
No, we all good.
Mm,
So we're gonna go ahead and get ready to get up out of here tonight, man. Want to thank everybody for joining us. No,
yeah.
we didn't put out any known as to let everybody know. We didn't hang up any YouTube flyers or Facebook flyers, let anybody know that we was coming on tonight. We like to shock y'all when we just show up. But
Mhm.
like I said, the NFL Combine is on the way. Just want to allude before we get out here to what you said a little while ago. Uh, I don't consider it to be the underwear Olympics anymore. I think there's real tangible value to the NFL Combine. Just being honest, man, and it all comes down to what do you
Uh-huh.
put it in as? Like, okay, it's not so much about that guy had zero production on film, but
Uh-huh.
damn, he jumped high and he ran fast. So he's a first round pick. It should never take you
Yeah.
from one end of the pendulum all the way to the next.
No, 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 no.
I
Absolutely not.
use it to see how explosive. I use certain workouts for certain groups. I still think the 40 time is valuable for corners. I
Mhm.
do. I think
Yeah.
it's valuable for defensive tackles too, because what a defensive tackle runs in the 40 in their broad jump, as well as their vertical jump and their bench press, all
Mhm.
factors into that power number, and it gives you an idea of how explosive that player is. You and I talked about Braden Fisk
Mhm.
and his
Florida
explosion
State.
number
Yeah.
at the combine. The broad jump, the 40 time, the bench press, everything pointed towards him being a high level player, a high level defensive tackle, but
Yeah.
people didn't want to believe in it because, well, his body's built funny and he
Mhm.
got
Yeah.
short arms. But when you watched him on film,
Yeah.
dude was
Dominate.
dominant
Yeah.
in
Dominate.
Florida
Yep.
State's defense. He was the reason Jared Verse got a lot of those clean runs at the quarterback. It was
Mhm.
him. Not to
Yeah.
say that Verse isn't a tremendous player also, but
Yeah.
Braden Fisk played a valuable role in that. And then he went to the combine and he backed it up athletically, and people still didn't want to believe it.
Yeah. 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 You know who? I always look at guys and I always say he made himself like last year, for instance, like Derek Hall from played for Auburn. I
Mhm.
think Derek Hall was a fourth round pick for Seattle linebacker. Made himself some money in the combine. He was great in agility, and people didn't know he could move the way he did. You know what I'm saying? He was known for, you know, maybe for to be a special teams guy, but Derek Hall's is a good piece, man, and on a very good Seattle defense. So that's what I'm looking for. I always look at guys like you said, not saying that it's gonna sway it either or, but I do think you can get guys that come out of the woodwork, man, and get them said their names in the conversation. You know what I'm saying? I remember people laugh because I said, remember we did shows. I was saying how I like Malik Willis, man. I really did. I thought Malik Willis had a great combine. I did. I thought he showed all the arm talent. He was electric. I remember he was oohs and ahs just from him throwing the ball effortlessly. And I think I'm glad to see him probably play this way into a contract, a nice contract for himself. You know what I'm saying? Coming up in free agency, we'll see. But yeah, so yeah, I think cornerback. Our next show, we you want to do corner and safety? That's what you want to do, or you want to do offensive line, or
Well, the offensive linemen come in tomorrow,
yeah,
Wednesday, so
yeah,
we can come back tomorrow. And I know
yeah,
everybody itching to talk about the offensive line. We've been talking about this offensive line like crazy the
yeah,
past few months, but
and
yep,
rightfully so.
the
Rightfully so.
offensive linemen come in tomorrow. Um, so yeah, we can come back tomorrow. We can jump into the offensive line.
Yeah, facts.
Everybody wanted verse. I wanted
Yeah,
verse too.
yeah, we wanted it too. I
I
wanted it
wanted
bad.
Will
Yep.
Anderson.
Huh. Yep. You wanted Will Anderson. I remember what's the other kid from Nebraska, Walt, that
Oh,
Eagles drafted Ty, what's his name?
Ty.
The lineman, sort of a
I
clone
forgot
of
it.
Braden Fisk, but I don't think he
Yeah,
made that many big of an impact. But
not on that defensive line.
mhm.
He
Yeah,
didn't get the opportunities to. So,
yeah.
yep. All
Remember,
right.
remember Kylie Ringo. Remember we did Kylie Ringo
Oh yeah,
win that second batch of corners. Walt, a couple years ago, he was drafted. I really was high on him coming out of Georgia. Man, he's just like he a
he a
role
special
player at
teams
best.
player.
Yep, he a role player at best. I was wrong on Kylie Wingo. I remember I wanted Edrin Cooper a couple years ago. Green
He
Bay
good.
Capitals. Yeah, I like Edrin Cooper. It's just got to think back. I think Tyree Wilson was a guy I wanted. Just that was a bad
Ooh.
pick. I don't think that kid's nowhere near an NFL defensive end. You know, a serious threat. You know what I'm saying? Tyler Booker. I remember I was swaying back and forth on draft night that we could take Tyler, but remember we were kind of flirting with it. And I'm like, man,
We took Tyler Booker in multiple mock drafts.
Yeah, yep, that we did. Yep, and we wound up taking
Gray Zabel also.
So, yeah.
But all right, so we ain't getting into Gray Zabel. We can get into Gray Zabel tomorrow night. At some point in time, talking offensive line, Gray Zabel's name is gonna pop back up tomorrow night. But yeah, he was offensive tackle, center, guard. He did everything for North Dakota.
Tremendous football player, man. Yep.
Absolutely. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Lions Avenue. Peace out.